In the 17th century, women were rarely allowed to pick up a paintbrush, let alone create masterpieces. This was the reality for Artemisia Gentileschi, born in 1593 in Rome. But Artemisia defied those expectations. Trained in her father's workshop, she showed extraordinary talent from a young age. Her life wasn't just about art, it was also about overcoming unimaginable trauma. Artemisia Gentileschi was a survivor and one of the most remarkable storytellers in art history, a true pioneer. She captured women with strength, vulnerability, and passion never seen before at a time when female artists were rarely acknowledged. But to understand her genius, we must take a closer look at her life. It's one filled with strict discipline, personal trauma, and groundbreaking achievements. Born in 1593 in Rome, Artemisia Gentileschi grew up in an environment steeped in art. Her father, Orazio Gentileschi, was a well-regarded painter whose style bore the strong influence of Caravaggio, bold contrasts of light and shadow, intense realism, and dramatic narratives. Artemisia's mother died when she was just 12, leaving her in the care of her father. Orazio's household was strict, and Artemisia was rarely allowed outside. Instead, she spent her childhood in her father's studio, training alongside her 3 brothers. From a young age, it was clear that Artemisia possessed exceptional talent. Her father's workshop became her sanctuary and her school, where she absorbed techniques and learned her craft. By the time she was 17, she had completed Susanna and the Elders, her first known painting. This work, signed and dated by Artemisia, is remarkable for its technical mastery. While male artists often portrayed Susanna as a passive, eroticized figure, Artemisia showed her as a woman visibly distressed by the leering elders. In 1611, when Artemisia was just 17, her life took a devastating turn. Her father was working on a project with Agostino Tassi, another painter who frequented their home. One day, while Artemisia was painting in her father's studio, Tassi raped her. What followed was a grueling trial, during which Artemisia's character was attacked, and she was subjected to physical torture to verify her testimony. The trial documents preserved in the Archivio di Stato in Rome reveal the extent of her suffering. She described scratching Tassi's face and pulling his hair in a desperate attempt to defend herself. Yet despite her courage in speaking out, Tassi's punishment was never enforced. This event cast a long shadow over her life, but did not define her art. While some critics have linked her most violent works to her personal experience, such interpretations risk oversimplifying her genius. Artemisia's Judith beheading Holofernes, painted around 1612, is often viewed through this lens. The painting depicts the biblical heroine Judith decapitating the Assyrian general Holofernes with brutal intensity. Artemisia's Judith is no delicate damsel. She is a determined, forceful woman aided by her maidservant. The graphic realism and dynamic composition of the scene reflect Artemisia's mastery of Caravaggesque techniques. Her later works, such as Lucretia, positions women not just as victims but as agents of their own narratives. Following the trial, Artemisia left Rome for Florence, determined to forge an independent career. In 1616, she became the first woman admitted to Florence's Accademia delle Arti del Disegno. This was a significant milestone as it provided her access to the same opportunities and recognition as her male contemporaries. While in Florence, she received commissions from the Medici family, including Grand Duke Cosimo II, who became a key patron. Her works during this period, such as self-portrait as Saint Catherine of Alexandria, reflect her strategic use of self-imagery to market her skills. Artemisia was also known for her intelligence and charm, which earned her the admiration of many influential figures. One of her closest relationships was with Francesco Maria Maringhi, a wealthy Florentine nobleman and her lover. Letters between them reveal the depth of their connection. In one poignant letter, she writes about the grief she felt after the death of her 4-year-old son, a tragedy and personal loss she had to go through while trying to build an independent life. In the 1620s, Artemisia returned to Rome, where she became a sought-after artist. Her reputation attracted patrons such as Cardinal Francesco Barberini, and she secured commissions for large-scale biblical and historical works. By the 1630s, she had moved to Naples, where she established her own workshop. Naples provided her with opportunities to create monumental altarpieces and collaborate with other artists. One notable project was David and Bathsheba, where she worked alongside landscape and architectural painters. This collaboration highlights her ability to integrate her vision within broader artistic projects. Between 1638 and 1640, Artemisia travelled to London to work at the court of King Charles I, where her father, Orazio, had been serving as a court painter. During this period, she likely contributed to the decoration of the Queen's house at Greenwich. Her most famous work from her time in England is Self-Portrait as the Allegory of Painting, a bold statement of her identity and skill. In this painting, she depicts herself as the embodiment of the art of painting, holding a brush and palette, poised with purpose. Artemisia Gentileschi's legacy transcends her era. Her ability to convey the complexity of human emotion through her art has earned her a place among the greats of the Baroque period. Contemporary exhibitions, such as in the National Gallery in London 2020, have brought renewed attention to her work, highlighting newly discovered paintings and personal letters. While much of Artemisia Gentileschi's story focuses on her personal hardships and artistic achievements, her relationship with the scientific and intellectual circles of her time adds an intriguing dimension to her life. Living in Florence during the early 17th century, Artemisia was immersed in a cultural hub that valued art as well as science and philosophy. Florence was home to figures such as Galileo Galilei, with whom Artemisia is believed to have shared a connection. Galileo's emphasis on observation and empirical evidence may have influenced Artemisia's own approach to realism and detail in her work. Additionally, Artemisia's correspondence reveals a keen awareness of the political and social dynamics of her patrons. Her ability to navigate these relationships strategically for sure shows her business acumen. For example, her time in Naples saw her create works that aligned with the Counter-Reformation's emphasis on piety and devotion, catering to the tastes of the church and local nobility. Artemisia's collaboration with other artists, including those specializing in architecture and landscapes, highlights her ability to adapt and innovate within the broader artistic projects of her era. This collaborative approach enhanced her reputation and also positioned her as a respected peer among male contemporaries. Through her heroines like Judith and Lucretia, Artemisia offered a radical reimagining of women as both vulnerable and commanding, challenging the traditional narratives of her time. If you've been inspired by Artemisia's story, make sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments which of her paintings resonates with you the most. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of a true Baroque pioneer.